man, what a great World Series. Overall, hate the way it ended. I wasn't rooting for the Dodgers, of course, but what a great World Series. I was watching it. You were watching it. America was watching it. Canada was watching it. And God, I'm praying that John Henry was watching it. I really hope the people high up cutting the checks for the Boston Red Sox were watching that series. But you know what? It's the same thing I said last year. It's the same thing I said last year when the Dodgers won. Look, the Dodgers spend more than almost anybody in baseball, and they win the World Series. Is that the only reason? No, because the only team that spent more than them this year was the New York Mets, and they didn't even make the postseason. It's not the only thing. But if you want a seat at that table, you do have to spend money, okay? And that is something that has frustrated Red Sox fans for years now. They put together the greatest Red Sox team of all time in 2018. They rolled through everybody. And then within 2 years of that, they said, we can't do this anymore. We can't spend money. We can't go over the luxury tax. We can't be taxed on that. These other teams that haven't cared, they're the ones that are winning the World Series. Each of the last 5 World Series champions did pay the luxury tax this year. Each of the last 5 World Series winners paid the luxury tax this year in 2025. One of which, of course, being the 2-time defending champion Los Angeles Dodgers. And I know the Red Sox started to spend some money last year by bringing in Alex Bregman. They obviously before that, their last big offering was to Trevor Story. And they've made some good extensions this year, not at huge money, but at pretty good money, right? Guys like Garrett Crochet. I think the Brian Bayo one is still a good extension they made last year. And Roman Anthony, I think, is still a good one. But the Dodgers will show you that you have to go out there and pay market value for these guys. Even the Astros didn't even make the playoffs this year. They paid the luxury tax. They're a penny pinching team, or at least so we thought. But the Dodgers went out there and they get those guys. And it's got to hurt as a Red Sox fan to watch this team win the World Series. Mookie Betts, 3rd World Series title with them. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And on his plaque, he's going to be wearing a Los Angeles Dodgers cap. That's a guy that you drafted, that you developed, that you brought into this league. They just didn't want to pay him market value. But we get it. Like that's way in the past, right? You know who's not way in the past? Yamamoto. The MVP of this World Series, the hero of it. The guy who started Game 6 and ended Game 7. The Red Sox were at the table with Yamamoto. They wouldn't go over $300 million. Dodgers said, sure, we'll make you the highest paid pitcher in history. It's worked out for them. It's worked out pretty well. Hindsight's 2020, but clearly the Red Sox were just pawns in that game saying we won't go over $300 million so that someone would go over $300 million. And that's exactly what happened. You could have had this happening for you. You needed an ace before 2024. You needed an ace. You decided to wait a year. You punted an entire season. And oh, by the way, you could have had Yamamoto and Garrett Crochet. Yamamoto, all it cost you was money. Crochet, you got in a trade and then extended at very good value. Not a lot of money to extend Garrett Crochet at 6 years, 170. Like you could have done that. You could have locked up, almost $500 million in your top 2 starters. You could have done that. Instead, you decided not to. And Yamamoto is winning World Series MVP as a cult hero with somebody else. You could have extended Mookie Betts before the 2019 season instead of Xander Bogaerts, instead of Chris Sale, instead of Nathan Eovaldi, who did pretty well in that contract, but you didn't. And now he's winning his 3rd World Series with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And our guy, friend of the show, Jackson Roberts, actually wrote a great piece for Sports Illustrated about what the Red Sox can learn from this Dodgers team. And he made a great point. And that basically it's going to boil down to the Dustin May trade. And I thought this at the time. I said this on the show at the time. You went out there. You needed to go make some big moves at the deadline to show that you were serious. You didn't do it. But you brought in Dustin May. And I just remember thinking at the time, they'd faced May the week before. He hadn't had a good season to that point. And I'm thinking, the Los Angeles Dodgers, a team who at the time still had just as good a chance as anybody to win the World Series, a playoff contender at the trade deadline, is not just getting rid of starting pitching. That never happens in the history of baseball, ever. But you decide, this guy's different. This Dustin May, we can fix him. And the Dodgers are sitting there thinking, okay, yeah, we'll take 2 prospects. Sure. Yeah, name your price, man. They were bidding against themselves. The Dodgers saw that we're a good team. We don't need Dustin May. And they look at the Red Sox going out to trade for Dustin May and thinking, that's not a contender. That team does not have what it takes. And I don't think they know that they don't have what it takes. They don't know what it takes at this point as a front office to put together a team even near the Los Angeles Dodgers. And the thing that also sticks out to me is obviously why everybody hates the Dodgers, this just immeasurable collection of talent for obscene prices, right? They have the second highest payroll in baseball. They don't care who knows it. They're from the biggest market in the sport, other than maybe New York. And they're not afraid to flaunt that. The Red Sox used to not be afraid to flaunt that. They used to not care. You know, the Red Sox were not kidding themselves and thinking they were the Kansas City Royals and they were this great plucky underdog story. No, they spent a lot of money, man, all the time. All their great World Series teams had a lot of money tied into the payroll. The Dodgers don't care about alignment in their franchise. That's what the Red Sox say when they trade great homegrown talent. They say, oh, yeah, we need better alignment. The Dodgers say, we need better players. We need more runs. We need to give up less runs. We need to win baseball games, and then we'll win the World Series. Because when the Dodgers went out and got Freddie Freeman, they didn't say, oh, well, now we need to trade Mookie Betts. And when they went out and got Shohei Ohtani, they didn't sit there and think, oh, we need to trade Freddie Freeman now. We need some more alignment. We need the flexibility. They don't do that. They keep those guys. They add to those guys. But the Red Sox are the opposite. When they finally do go out and spend some money and they say, Alex Bregman, $40 million a year, you're a Boston Red Sox, they think, oh, shit. We need to trade Rafael Devers. We need to trade whoever the first bidder is that will take his entire contract. We need to get rid of him so that we can sell to our fan base that, oh, we're going to get the next one. We're going to get the next bite of the apple. We're freed up some money so we can go out and get the next guy. And who knows how legit they are about that. But the Dodgers are a good team, and they don't think like that. They don't think, I got Shohei Ohtani, I need to get rid of Freddie Freeman to become more flexible. No, they don't do that. In fact, Mookie Betts had his worst year in LA, still a pretty good year this past year. And they're not thinking, oh, how can we get rid of him? How can we get out from underneath this? They see where he gives them value in the postseason, and he gave them value in the postseason. It's a philosophy that the good teams in baseball, including the New York Yankees, by the way, live by that the Red Sox don't right now. And I'm done taking Dodgers pitchers because both of them that they got the last year totally sucked, and you could have seen it coming. Dustin May and Walker Buehler was the other one. I'm sorry, man. When the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have dealt with all the injuries from Walker Buehler the last few years, don't want to even extend a short-term contract to him after he was a playoff hero, then guess what? He's probably got nothing left. Go and ask the Red Sox. They'll tell you he's got nothing left after they paid him $20 million for a little over half of one season. And so I hope John Henry is watching. I hope Craig Breslow's watching. That's how a big market team operates in 2025. And the Blue Jays didn't pay the luxury tax, but they weren't that far off. The Blue Jays spent themselves some money as well. And you know what they did, though? They extended a great homegrown talent in Vlad Guerrero Jr. Extended him. That's how they got the 5th highest payroll in baseball this year, at the beginning of the season. The Red Sox were 12th. And they got $60 million off the books in the middle of the season for the duration of the Rafi Devers contract. So it was $30 million a year for this season. They got off the books. But you look at the teams that were in it, other than the Mets, it's the Dodgers, world champions. The Yankees knocked you out of the playoffs. Phillies, best team in the National League for most of the year. Toronto Blue Jays, American League champions. Like, this is what we're talking about. These are the teams that spend the money. The Padres, the Cubs, they're both ahead of you. The Diamondbacks are ahead of you, and so are the Rangers, but the Braves, they have some other problems. But it just goes to show you're not winning at the biggest table unless you are spending. And the Red Sox think they're spending. They like to tell their fans that they're spending. But there's a realistic opportunity that Alex Bregman does not re-sign here. It's that you're looking back at last year when they went in and spent some money, and Alex Bregman's gone, and Rafael Devers is gone, and potentially even Trevor Story is gone. And then you think, well, what good was that? What good was that? And the answer is you need to go in and spend more. You need to not be afraid at some of these big name free agents like they were with Yamamoto, like they were with Juan Soto, which didn't fill the biggest need they had, but you kind of catch my drift there. But instead, they'll probably think, okay, we just need to get cheaper. We just need to get even cheaper and just develop more of that talent and keep locking them up, because it might screw you when it comes to Christian Campbell and his trade value. It might screw you if you ever want to trade Cedar Rafaela. But there's a lot the Red Sox can learn from this World Series. A lot. And damn, man, I really wish Toronto could have pulled it off. I really wish Toronto could have pulled it off. Kike Hernandez, another World Series championship. Guy you didn't pay. I'm okay that you didn't pay Kike Hernandez. Okay, very okay with that. But, man, what a series. It obviously, I think it would have gone down as one of the best of all time if Toronto had won. If you had that moment of a walk-off in an unbelievable ballpark at this point, the Rogers Center. It used to be a dump. But really tough place to play. Like, if they have the walk-off and they have that moment, that goes down as one of the greatest World Series of all time. It should anyway, but people will forget because America lost and so did Canada too. So let me know what you think. Can the Red Sox learn from this Dodgers team and how they've done it the last two seasons? Because they should have learned last year, and they feel like they did because they went out and got Bregman, and that could all be gone. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, because, of course, we come at you every weekday live, noon Eastern time, and then available wherever you get your podcasts as well. Special shout out to Mike Debate for coming on the show. Another shout out to Zach Burke for keeping us on the air 5 days a week, and a shout out to you for following along in your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio here on the Wicked Boston Show. I'm your host, Cam Stuart. We will see you again tomorrow for another edition of the Wicked Boston Show.